What's up, Beans? Welcome to Ctrl-Alt-Fight, the perfect place to catch up on the whole week's news, and it has been a busy week with Street Fighter being playable in VR, Street Fighter launching as a new mobile game, a new character trailer for Jin in Tekken 8, Riot Games searching for new content creators, SNK moving to a new office called 2NK, Bridget is getting a budget-friendly figure from Max Factory, and today's top story, the Rollback netcode beta for spring this year. There's so much to say, but to get things started, let's talk about balls. Yes, for all you traditional arcade stick players, Kwanba has announced new fluorescent ball tops that come in smooth or matte surface. Judging from the images on their official site, it looks like these balls genuinely glow in the dark, so if you really want to party like it's still 1999, then put on your cargo pants and head on over to pick one up. At just $10, you might even have some change left over to buy yourself a fruit by the foot. And while you're at it, why not consider disguising your arcade stick as the ground like Dan here, so you can touch grass without ever actually having to leave the safety of your home Wi-Fi router. Real talk though, when is someone going to make a Chia Pet arcade stick? Cheatbox has officially entered the realm of Guilty Gear this week with the Brisket edition of their Snackbox Micro art inlay. Ever find yourself mid-match in Guilty Gear Strive when you think to yourself, gee, I really wish I'd memorized a few more Roman cancel bait burst combos into Sweep Oki? Well, I heard you like to cheat, so I put a cheat sheet overlay in your cheat box so you can cheat while you cheat. One place you won't be cheating, however, is the VR setup for Street Fighter over in Japan. Kicking off mid-February in Hiroshima, the price of admission is roughly $9 and allows you to go head-to-head in first-person perspective against Ryu, Zangief, and M. Bison. Last week, Capcom TV aired with some gameplay footage, which is a mixture of awesome and terrifying, because as much as I like the idea of throwing Hadokens in VR, I can't think of anything scarier than being face-to-face with a grappler. Street Fighter also launched something new on mobile this week called Street Fighter Duel. If you like gacha and passive gaming, this might be one to check out, especially if you've always wished for a mobile game featuring Street Fighter characters. I'm looking forward to trying it myself, and if it survives longer than the 5 months Puzzle Fighter on mobile ran before shutting down, then I'd say that deserves a pat on the back. While we're still on the topic of Street Fighter, guess which game got the most registered entrants at EVO Japan this year? That's right, with 1,797 players, it's My Little Pony Friendship Is Just Kidding. It's Street Fighter V showing up kinda awkwardly after its big farewell at Capcom Cup a couple weeks ago. Jokes aside though, it's been a hell of a ride for this game, so it's kinda nice that we'll see one more big tournament for it, and maybe this time we'll actually see more of the Japanese players who couldn't make it to Capcom Cup. EVO Japan will be held at the end of March, and I'll be there, so be sure to message me on Twitter at NihongoGamer if you make it over to Japan that weekend. I'd love to hang out. Speaking of EVO Japan, spectator tickets for Day 3 have resumed sales. I actually forgot to buy a ticket during pre-sales, so I've picked up a general seat, but for double the price at 8,000 yen, you can get a seat that's supposedly a little bit better. Now, I couldn't actually find information about which titles are going to be played on Day 3, but one game I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that weekend will be Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, because that's when the next trailer is coming out for GB vs Rising. Rising is the next version of the game, which will be coming out later this year, but not until after EVO in Vegas. What we did get early though is this gameplay trailer for Anilla, who was announced in a character reveal trailer in February. In the first trailer, we only really got a look at the character's model and animation, but in the new trailer, we got a pretty good look at her moveset, and they really went all the way with the Sheep theme by integrating Sheep into plenty of her moves, and especially so for her cinematic super, which can only be described as fluffy cotton death by Sheep. But enough about Sheep, it's time for OMG, a hit tweet. At 600,000 views on Twitter, FGC Daily brought attention to the latest Donkey video using a clip where he's talking about his hopes for the next generation of fighting games to provide more satisfying single-player modes. Donkey brings up a good point, but how do fighting game story modes get even better? I feel like NRS games already have great story modes. How do we improve on that? It's an ancient topic that gets brought up every time a new fighting game comes out, but discussion is especially spicy when the bigger titles like Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat come out. We know that Street Fighter 6 plans to push single player further than it's ever done before with World Tour mode, but until the game comes out, it's hard to tell, 1, how satisfying it'll actually be to play, and 2, whether it actually has any effect on keeping people playing the fighting game itself long term. It's all well and good if single player mode helps to sell copies of the game at launch, but when casual players finish World Tour mode, will they actually make the move over to becoming active in the fighting game scene? That remains to be seen. Well, if there's a prize for staying active in the fighting game scene, the award certainly has to go to SNK. There has probably never been any other company that has dropped fighting games, been sold to a different company, brought itself back, then sold again so many times that I've actually lost count, and still remained active in the world of fighting games than SNK. This week, in what almost looks like an anime parody trying to avoid legal action, SNK has disguised themselves in a new building, and the address is, wait for it, 2NK. It makes no sense whatsoever, but honestly at this point I wouldn't be half surprised if it turned out that the legal rights to naming a building SNK still belonged to some failing pachinko business in Japan somewhere. Speaking of pachinko, one of the 3 playable characters from Tekken Pachi Slot, Jin Kazama, is the next new character revealed for the upcoming Tekken 8. The trailer seems to be getting positive reviews, but I'm gonna be honest with you, until last week I didn't even realize that Jin and Kazuya were separate characters. Melty Blood type Lumina has decided to post one of those content creator nightmare guidelines that tried to prevent the uploading of match videos without permission of the players in the match. I don't know what the real motive was behind this, but anytime a fighting game company tries to restrict content creation, it usually ends up doing the game more harm than good. I'm often curious about these guidelines that are posted on game websites, because even if people ignore them and upload videos without permission, I wonder how far copyright law can be bent by companies to actually prevent it. Large companies abusing the copyright strike system on YouTube is common for sure, but with the fighting game scene being as niche as it is, it's probably not a good idea to try and control the community too much, especially when it's to shut down videos that would otherwise have been free publicity for the games. If you are a content creator, then there might be a chance for you to collab with Riot Games. Mel, the influencer manager, has posted a form on Twitter for any creators in North America looking for opportunities, so you might want to jump on this, especially if it means a chance to make content for games like Project L, which we still know very little about. But now it's time to talk about today's top story: rollback netcode in Dragon Ball FighterZ. At EVO last year, they announced that the game would finally be getting a rollback netcode update, but since then we've pretty much had radio silence. Well, Dragon Ball fans can finally rejoice because the rollback netcode beta test has been confirmed as hopefully around spring on Steam this year, and since it's already March, I'm guessing it'll happen sometime after EVO Japan concludes on April 2nd. Rollback netcode is a technique developers use to hide network lag by skipping parts of move animations if the inputs from your opponent arrive later than expected. There are numerous other benefits, like avoiding freezing, which occurs when games delay or wait for inputs to arrive before allowing the game to continue, and also the ability to play the game smoothly with players from further away than would normally be possible on standard delay-based netcode. Tomoko Hiroki, the game's producer, is hoping to do another world tour, and even though they announced that the game would not be getting further balance changes, they're planning on doing one more balance patch anyway. I haven't been playing DB FighterZ lately, so I don't actually know how broken it is, so let me know in the comments whether this balance patch is a big deal or not. Just to round things up here, let's quickfire some other news. Curb showed us what Street Fighter 6 would look like with alternative lighting. Comment below if you prefer the original or the modified version. Winner of this year's LCQ at Capcom Cup, the incredibly impressive player Jen appears to be suffering from finger pain from anti-airing too much. I want to say poor Jen, but maybe this is just a mind game to make players think that they can jump in on him for free when they'll just get anti-aired every time. Beyond the Summit is closing down after 11 years. I haven't attended any BTS tournaments myself, but judging from the reactions online, this is a pretty big loss, and hopefully the staff will all find themselves new jobs soon. Toshimichi Morni, best known as the creator of BlazBlue, recently left Arc System Works and has just announced his new company, Studio Flare, together with Toshinori Aoki, who previously worked at Marvelous. If this means what I think it means, then hopefully we're getting Senran Kagura, but every character is Ragnar the Blood Edge. In preparation for the Arc World Tour Finals, you can get various ArcSys games on sale up to 92% off. The most important one, of course, is Under Night In-Birth, which is 63% off, so even if you own it, buy it for a friend and force them to play it. Hashtag rollback netcode, please. Poison's gender was apparently confirmed in Street Fighter Duel on their profile, where it's clearly labeled as en fixe, which is French for fix this translation before the game releases. Oh no, too late. Oh well, let's just roll with it. And last but not least, say goodbye to Parsec Arcade. Parsec is a service that allows you to stream a game to a friend so you can play as if you were sat side by side in the same room, even if there's no multiplayer functionality built into the game. As far as I can tell, Parsec is fine and still running, but their arcade beta service, which apparently made it all easier by streaming the game instead of your whole desktop, will be ending in April. Well, that just about does it for another week of controller, game, and fighting game news. With the new Tekken and GB vs trailers, the excitement for the next generation generation of fighting games is really starting to pick up. And later this month, I'll be at EVO Japan, where I expect they'll announce even more. I want to say thanks to everyone who left feedback on last week's episode, because it's often difficult to gauge how things are going when you start a brand new series. It's quite time-consuming collecting all the news stories during the week, but it's also a lot of fun, so I'll definitely be trying to keep this series going. Be sure to subscribe for more, comment with your favorite news from today, like the video, and hey, why not check out another one right now? I'll put a video here on screen that I'm sure you're gonna love. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Ctrl-Alt-Fight.